Alright, in this video I would like to just do a quick discussion of this book by Jacques Derrida, which is The Animal That Therefore I Am. It's about as complex as really any other Derrida book, as any other work that he has. This is just as complex. This was a lecture that he gave in like 97 or something like that at Sarah's de France. I guess I have multiple videos about Derrida's deconstruction, about his theories, about Logocentrism, metaphysics of presence, all that stuff. I have videos on all that stuff. So if you want a more basic go over on Derrida's philosophy, this is not the thing for you. But just to kind of give a little bit of, I guess, context. And I am sick, by the way, so forgive any grossnesses or speaking things that might occur. Derrida he pretty much called out against logocentrism in all of his works at some kind of Western philosophy or Western philosopher thinker or another, and he would just be like, well, this person has a philosophy that is centered on something and doesn't really understand that when you deconstruct something, you expose a trace. Just like if you have being and you deconstruct that, then you have non-being, and how the opposites are related, and how one cannot. And according to him, one who has a staunch position, somebody who's like a monist, can't really just be like, monism is the only way, there's no other way to think about philosophy of mind. Then you are committing logocentrism, because you are centering your philosophy on one opinion or one argument, and you aren't recognizing that you aren't really recognizing the other things, and how monism is directly related to dualism. And if you were to deconstruct monism, you would find dualism beneath. And same thing for dualism. If you were to deconstruct dualism, you would find monism underneath. So it's just like that. It's like the concept of same and difference that he gives in his essay Difference, where sameness is just like difference, where you recognize things by how they are same. Like I have a set of members X, Y, and Z, and I have this other thing over here called W. I don't put W into the set because X, Y, and Z are put in there by their sameness, and yet X, Y, and Z are recognized by the difference from W. So that's kind of how sameness and difference are inherent in really any talk about as to whether something is different or same. And it's in a way a model or a metaphor for how, given any big debate or argument, you can't staunchly think something, or you can't staunchly argue one thing. You can't be like monism is the only correct philosophy of mind, because da 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 da. You aren't recognizing the possible reasons for dualism, or what dualism is, or what the whole thing is. That's a way of saying it, which is not in the Derridianese language, and it's just like that. If you claim to have any argument that you are arguing and that others are wrong, and that you are just trying to argue this and just this given any issue, then you are committing logocentrism in that you are not allowing the for philosophy to decenter. And a decentered philosophy is, in a way, turning concepts inside out and showing how opposites are related, and how opposites are almost the same to one another, as the same as they are different, and how we defer and delay until we have actual or substantial real meaning, and things differ from one another. Signs and things differ from each other, and we have this constant differing or marginalizing between things themselves and also different arguments. And that's the whole thing that deconstruction wants for philosophy, is to decenter it, deconstruct many main positions, and also to make for a marginalizing or a difference among philosophy and among any kind of discipline, and also that we need to deconstruct metaphysics of presence. What is metaphysics of presence? What that is that let's say you're Plato or you're Hegel, you believe in the forms or the absolute, or you're Leibniz, who believes in monads, or you're some kind of person who has a certain set of entities that you are ontologically committed to, and then you integrate them into your philosophy. And Derrida's work, Plato's Pharmacy, really hammers on Plato about that, and uses the word pharmakon, which has multiple meanings, to kind of deconstruct the whole thing. So now, having talked about almost 6 minutes about Derrida's regular philosophy, I will turn to this. And I guess the first part, I guess, is really the important one. It has 4 parts. He talks about being nude in front of his cat, being nude in front of une petite chat, or his small cat, and what it means when the cat stares at him, or what it means when he stares at the cat, and how it's different if 2 people see each other nude and when a cat sees a man nude. He asks the questions, how can an animal look you in the face? And it's just kind of, and it relates to, first of all, it's Giorgio Agamben, which I've done a video about one of his books. It also relates to environmental ethics, and I'll make a separate video talking about. I'll make a separate video talking about Derrida, Agamben, and environmental ethics itself. So he says weird stuff like this, like the animal therefore is not naked because it is naked. It doesn't feel its own nudity. So humans and animals are both not naked, and yet they have nudity. So to kind of explain that, it kind of goes down to the whole Adam and Eve thing in the Bible, where after they committed that, the one act that God told them not to, they had shame, and they put leaves over their genitals, and they kind of were ashamed of their nudity from then on. And animals, however, do not have that. Dogs, some people do put clothes on their animals. Those are the little kind of weirder ones, but most people don't put clothes on their animals. Excuse me. And it's just, man is nude, and yet he's not nude. He's nude in that if he were to be stripped, he would be shamed, and yet he isn't nude because of in ways that he covers up. So, and animals are nude and also yet not nude as well. And I guess what he does talk about at the beginning of this is that he talks about nude writing. In a way, it's talked about art writing, where which is like almost neutral writing, in that there's no bias as to whether speech is better or whether writing is better, or speech puts through more meaning or writing puts through more meaning. It's art writing in that it, and I fail to remember the actual details of how it's done. That is in his book of grammatology, but it's done in order to strip everything of its substance, if you will, but not entirely its substance, but it's the stuff that which covers its nudity. A word or a sentence has something that veils it, which covers its nudity. He wants that stripped off, and that's kind of like how you deconstruct something and you expose a trace. So we have this word which is called humanimality, Now, this whole thing about nudity is gonna relate, but the whole thing I want to say is a big theme is where do we draw the line between human and animal? And he's gonna kind of, and if you hadn't noticed, in the world, us humans are on the very top. We run those cities, we run everything. Okay, we do everything, and we own everything, and we take care of everything, and we are regarded as being more intelligent than any other being, and we are regarded as being better or higher in the hierarchy. So we have us on top and all of the animals beneath it, which encompasses all of the different animals, whether it be an ape or like a snail. Even it just encompasses everything. So what is humanimality? So we have two big things which we struggle with here, and that's the tension between violence against animals. Like we have, if you take a class in environmental ethics, you will learn, or at least I would hope you will learn about the dominant worldview, and what that worldview is that humans run everything, and we use animals as a means to our own ends. Like how we test stuff on animals. We kill them so we can eat them, or we kill them to use what resources they have. And we often can even kill them just for its own sake. Violence against them just because. That happens. So we have the people who stick with the dominant worldview, who are like, well, it's fine. What we're doing to animals is fine because God put them here for this. And honestly, I'm a Christian, and I'm kind of on that. I'm think that God put animals here for us. However, I disagree with the dominant worldview entirely, and I don't think that we shouldn't commit violence against them, and we shouldn't hurt them. I think that I think that there will always be slaughter. However, I think testing on them should be really decimated, because if you read Peter Singer's book, Animal Liberation, he tells you everything about that stuff, and kind of gives a case for vegetarianism, and that is a very convincing case. There are people who have read that book and then become vegetarian. So there are people who still want the dominant worldview. There are, and I am a Christian, but there are Christians of my own faith, stupidly, who say, well, God put them here for us to do what we want with. So we have therefore the justification to cause them harm, or justification to test on them, or justification to do whatever with them, and have them be the means to our own ends. And that's a reason. And this is a dominant worldview among the world itself, that we treat the world as the means to our own end, and that's why we have so many problems which are caused by us as we do. So we have that worldview, and we also have the people, the environmentalists who wants to limit such violence and to make things better, and to reduce the hegemony of the dominant worldview about using animals in the world, as a means to our own ends. So the other issue, again, like I said, is where do we draw the line between human and animal? It is a ontological distinction as to who are we and who are they, and how do we relate, and and he does relate this to Heidegger. Heidegger, if you read Heidegger's Being in Time, he talks about being in the world, and here I'm going to read from that. Okay. Being after, being alongside, being near would appear as different modes of being, indeed of being with the animal. But in spite of appearances, it is certain that these modes of being come to modify a pre-established being, even less a primitive I am. In any case, they express a certain order of being huddled together, which is what the etymological root presu indicates, which follow the words pray, play, aplay. Being pressed, being as being strictly attached, bound and chained, being under pressure, compressed, impressed, repressed, pressed against, according to the stronger and weaker stricture of what always remains pressing. And I thought that was worth reading. So Heidegger, we have Heidegger, who has this Dasein. Now, if you don't know what Dasein is, it literally means in German being there, but it means the human consciousness, the human person, the ontological unit of one's being, and he like he says many times, Dasein is in each case mine. So he's talking about us. Who are we? Who are we? And in that book, he establishes a fundamental ontology and talks about being with, being as care, being in, the worldhood of the world, temporality, and tons of different things, which is like giving a fundamental ontology and doing hermeneutic phenomenology of who we are and figuring that out. So, and Derrida kind of asks the question: what does it mean to live, to die, to be, to speak? And Heidegger would say that thinking about the ontological priority of Dasein answers most of those questions. And Derrida refers to the wholly other as animal. And so I guess hopefully this was kind of so far helpful. But I guess I want to introduce the word limitropy or limitrophy. I'm going to call it limitropy, kind of like entropy, which is the explication of the gap between human and animal, looking at where they meet, who both are, and what constitutes or what does the gap consist in, and also what feeds the limit. Agamben has a answer for that, and for Agamben it's the anthropological machine, but he's asking questions like what feeds the limit, what causes it to generate and to maintain, and he does talk more about Adam and Eve and what it means to dress oneself and not dressing oneself, because animals do not have to dress themselves, and yet we do. And there is clothing proper to us. There's of dressing oneself. Humans, and again we have the humans who have all these properties of, like, we wear clothes, we dress ourselves, we think and we speak and we do all these different things. Like for Heidegger, what Dasein is and does, and then we have the whole animal sphere, which kind of just bridges out and is this whole entire lump of different things and different animals, and they all are lumped together in one unintelligent sphere of beings. And Derrida says that is a absurd reduction. How we humans reduce every single animal into this big blob of the unintelligible beings. The unintelligent beings. And that's kind of what has been going on here, at least in this first part. But there's the two parts I'm concerned with is the actual part which is called The Animal That Therefore I Am, and the second one is which I'm concerned with is called But As For Me, Who Am I? Where he does kind of come towards answering some of those questions. But I could possibly talk about this book for a long time that I'm really going to. So I guess something to think about is as to how this relates to books by Agamben like his The Open and his Homo Sacer, and how this relates to contemporary environmental ethics and people like Singer. And Agamben's answer is that we should, I guess, think about something that's just called bare life. We don't think about a human-animal distinction anymore. We just think of it as bare life, where it's just pure consciousness and pure thought, and there's no hierarchy which is created by this anthropological machine. So, I guess what I'm thinking about is I've been thinking about a lot about Derrida and Agamben and their works about the animal, and as to whether our distinction between us and all the beings that we lump into this huge category is really justified, or are we different enough that is justified? So, if you think I've left something out or I've done something wrong, tell me below, please. I'd love to hear from you. I will discuss with you. Or if you have a question of Derrida's work, and I mean that's something that I can definitely answer to, because I have been taught him a little, and I have read most of his works, at least most of the works that are published, and just ask questions, and because whenever you comment, I get an email. If your comment is constructive, then I will always respond. So thank you.